Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining for a conversation today with Erin Hauber. She's the Director of Human-Centered Design Practice at USAA. And I've been fortunate to be following / chatting with Erin for many years since her early days in IBM. So Erin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to see you. It's nice to see you. I can't wait to talk with you again.
There you go. So the reason why we're having this conversation was that I saw a very interesting LinkedIn post probably like a month or so ago, in which you said that you were hiring for a facilitator. And
Yep.
that was very interesting to me because I've been talking about the need for facilitation as a core competency and facilitators to help others level up their collaboration. So I would love to talk about that, and we're gonna be talking about that.
Yep.
But before that, Erin, would you mind sharing a little bit of context of why design in USAA, which is like a very traditional, big financial services company, very targeted to an audience? Tell us a little bit of how that journey all started, and then we can zoom into some of the details.
Yeah, so USAA is a member-owned financial services association, and we serve active military veterans and their families. We have about 12 million members. Mostly we do banking and insurance. We're nearly 100 years old. And like most 100-year-old companies, we were not born agile. We we have a lot of legacy ways of working. And about 4 years ago, we stood up a chief design office within USAA and established that. We are led by Mariah Garrett, our chief design officer. And there are about 300 designers and producers who work at USAA as teammates in the product and service space.
300 out of
36,000. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about how big USAA is. Yeah, so there's about 36,000 employees at USAA. And what brought me to USAA is it's the first place I've worked where caring about the people at the other end of your product and service is baked into the business model. We are all asked by USAA's mission to facilitate the financial security of our membership. And I have yet to meet someone at the company who didn't come to USAA specifically to do that. And so really the opportunity that we have at USAA as we integrate human-centered design thinking into how everyone works there is to transform that personal empathy that everyone feels for the membership and the desire to do right for these veterans and active military, to transform that personal care into something a whole team can take action on. Great experiences and a plan to deliver those experiences as a whole team. And so it's a tremendous opportunity. And if human-centered design thinking is going to flourish anywhere, it's USAA. And so that's what brought me here.
I definitely picked up early on when you guys talked about your business that you mentioned members. So
Yes.
like and it's something that we also do. Like when you buy from MURAL, you buy memberships, because it's that feeling of belonging, feeling of it's not just the service, but actually a little more than that. So yeah, it's good for us to like learn from others and grab best practices, especially for like such
Yeah.
a established organization. So, and what is the goal of this 300? Like 300, the number is like that movie, right? Like it's like very little people, but big ambition, I guess. What is the big goal or big goals that you guys have in your team?
Yeah, so first of all, our big goal for the year in design is to really integrate our way of thinking and working into how all business is done at USAA. And obviously we've been working on that for the past 4 years, but that kind of goes in stages. What we know is that what we know is that when designers are involved in product or service delivery, that what we're really good at is helping people understand what is the opportunity, what do people really want and need, and then we're experts at delivering an experience that fulfills that promise, that delivers on those needs. And that's something that designers bring to organizations. And that's really the business value that most companies the size of USAA are looking for when they build a design organization within their walls. And then my team is really there to ensure that the way designers think and work, the way that we're working, is demystified for everyone at the company. The way designers think and work to non-designers can sometimes feel one of two ways: either utterly mysterious, like we're some kind of black box and magic comes out whenever we get involved, or that our way of working is utterly overwhelming because of the many processes, the frameworks, the methodologies, and that can overwhelm folks. So my team's job really is to make design and designers, the way that we work and think, more accessible, usable, and valuable to the rest of the company through design thinking. Sort of the interface between designers and business, designers and technologists.
Besides,
that...
yeah, excellent. Before getting into the facilitator question,
yeah.
tell me a little secret. Who are the people that are like have the most trouble with design thinking?
I wonder if I should answer that question. You know what? Serious answer.
Make it a persona so you don't talk about anybody in particular.
Yeah, it's not a particular type of, it's not a particular role. That's the interesting thing. So for instance, I would say like my favorite folks to work with are those ones that come in, sorry, engineers. It's sometimes engineers and they're sort of like, prove it. And then the minute they experience the value of this way of working, like once you expose them to this way of working, they love the efficiency. They love the fact that the decisions are happening faster, that there's actually a connection between what we're doing and why. And so those are my favorite kind of converts, are those like, they come in really resistant. I would say that anyone with a growth mindset, anyone who can put on that beginner's mindset is really poised to get a lot of value from design thinking. It's the folks who I think one of the biggest impediments to adopting this way of working is fear. For some people, that's fear of trying something new after being in their job and being successful at their job for 25, 35 years. That's something we see at USAA. That's something I saw at IBM, these companies that really give people long careers and where people can enjoy long careers. So there's a fear element that can prevent people from succeeding. And then there's a fixed mindset element. Like, I don't want to risk changing anything because I might not succeed. So that's really the thing that can hold anyone back from success. And I even find myself, any of us can fall into those fixed thinking or fixed mindset traps. And so I even have to talk myself out of that sometimes, or recognize when I'm doing that.
And we're going to be talking about that later when we talk about what's the situation right now with the pandemic and having to deal with remote facilitation, which is probably not so easy. No. So, facilitator, full-time job, post on LinkedIn, promoted. What do you look for in a facilitator, and why is it already a full-time job? Because I don't see that much in other companies.
It's true. First of all, I just really appreciate the investment that Mariah Garrett, our Chief Design Officer, has made in our team, and that the company has made in our team. I think it's a smart investment because we, again, help create the conditions for designers and design teams to succeed. If a company really wants to get that full value, that return on investment that they see in the stock market that companies are getting when they build a design organization, then they've got to make sure that designers can succeed, that that the way that we think and work can be integrated into the rest of the business. And that's things like understanding the problem before coming up with solutions, basing that problem in real human needs rather than something imagined or only trying to change business KPIs. That's about creating, testing, and iterating ideas at the lowest possible fidelity. And that's about working together as a cross-functional team and kind of flattening the decision-making and pushing decisions to the people who are closest to the problem. So when I'm looking for teammates to join my team, I'm looking for people who actually have done product and service design. They can't just be theorists in design thinking. They actually, empathy applies to us too. And I want them to have authentic stories to share with teams about when they've faced a similar challenge or particularly difficult decision. Because so much about facilitation is guiding teams to work better together. So that's not just a designer's job. That could be a job for anyone. But what I've seen is especially people who've worked in the product design and development space are poised to do this well because they have empathy for the work. If your work is different, if the work you're guiding is different, then you just look for people who have experience in the doing, as well as being really good at inviting other people into their way of working. Because that's the other part. You can't just know your field. You also have to be someone who can invite others in, simplify it, make it accessible, understandable, something that someone else could join in on.
What's a typical week of a facilitator then?
Typical week. So what's interesting is even on my team, we're a team of 10. We're 10 facilitators and designers, or facilitators and producers. So those are the folks who do the more operational aspects of our work. But even as a facilitator, facilitation isn't just about facilitating workshops, although we do that. We run workshops and events where we are the ones guiding the teams. But what we're also doing is making it possible for other people to guide teams. And that's by building processes, toolkits, mural templates, education experiences. We launched this week a facilitator growth program where we're growing more facilitators in our ranks. And that eventually will be offered to anyone in the company. Right now, we just have it. We're piloting it with our design organization, but we'll eventually invite agile coaches into that, program managers, scrum masters, folks who have an interest in guiding teams to work better and want to integrate design thinking into their approach.
So it's 300 in the organization, 10 in here.
Yeah.
Do you have like a vision around like one facilitator in each meeting, kind of like one computer in each desk kind of thing? Should all meetings of more than X people have a facilitator?
I think you know the answer to that question.
The leading question.
I think we all in our hearts know the answer to that question. I don't know how many times I've been in a meeting where there wasn't a clear agenda, or there was an agenda, but you weren't quite sure who owned the meeting, who was being held accountable for the outcome of the meeting. And so these are some of the things that that facilitators can help with. They help teams develop a shared understanding of the problem that they're trying to solve, a shared understanding of what are the potential solutions. And they do this with structured activities. They facilitate group discussions, all in order to achieve the outcomes that everyone has agreed that they want. And so yes, I think the answer is yes. I think we all know that there's usually someone in a good meeting, there's usually someone that steps in when there's a vacuum. But wouldn't it be great if we had both at our fingertips the tools and the skills to make every meeting worth our time? just when we first signed on here, you said yesterday you were in like 10 hours of back-to-back Zoom calls. I think that that's a lot of us, that's our new normal, is all these Zoom meetings. And it can really, the difference between a well-facilitated meeting and just a unguided conversation that yields you're not sure why you're having the conversation or what you're supposed to decide by the end. We should never have any more meetings like that. And facilitators can help. And wouldn't it be great if there was also evidence of our decision, right? We made something together. And that's what my team does or teaches other people to do, is not just have a guided conversation, but then make something, right? You get everyone's perspective on the wall, and then you have evidence of the conversation. You can consider all of the ideas and then come up with criteria to make a decision, and then make the decision right then and there. And then you have evidence of it. So if you need to share it with someone else, you can just share it. You can say, this is what we were thinking. Here's what we decided. What did we miss? If it's an important stakeholder that wasn't able to be there, or someone that you need to invite into your work because you just learned, oh, there's a compliance consideration related to this. Oh, hey, compliance officer, here's what we're thinking about.
So, Erin, there's a lot of things to unbundle there because that's interesting stuff. One thing is like meetings need to be designed, right? And probably the facilitators design these meetings more than other people that just jump into a Zoom call versus like, okay, what's the goal? What's the purpose of this meeting? Why do I need to pay attention to you, Mrs. Sir? The other one that you mentioned just now is something that will make me jump into the remote component and that remote culture, which is, you mentioned like the evidence, right, of decisions or the documentation of decisions and so on, which are things that are happening because of two reasons. One is because there are more guided workshops in which people are there to post up. But in the remote world, it's very interesting because, and you mentioned it before, right? Sometimes someone might not be able to be there, but you need to be like, the world keeps on going, right? And that's something that we see a lot of people like really appreciate. And in the combination of these both is that people are starting to realize in this remote world that they can also unbundle workshops, unbundle meetings. And a lot of people ask me, hey, how do I run an 8-hour workshop online? It's like, why do you need to run an 8-hour workshop online? Like, do you really need that? And then what we're observing right now is like people are like unlearning and relearning. And this very bad facilitation in my regard right now because I'm talking myself instead of asking you questions. But
I'm following I'm agreeing. I'm getting excited about where you're going. So
So besides, I tell you the story that there's this guy that told me, hey, before the pandemic, we didn't believe these workshops could be done remotely. During the pandemic, it helped us survive. After the pandemic, we learned. It's not only that the fear is gone, we're brute forced to face the fear, right?
Yeah.
But we're learning to get better at this. Yes. So what is it that you're seeing in terms of, no fear to go remote and the learnings that you had through the remote brute forcing function of the pandemic?
Yeah. I mean, USAA is such an interesting case for this because I don't know the exact numbers, but it was something like we took maybe definitely over 90% of our workforce was working from a physical location. I think about 20,000 people were located in our home office in San Antonio. And in 5 days, this company took 98% of the workforce to work from home in 5 days. That's definitely around over 30,000 people. It's an extraordinary feat. And my team was part of that. We were on site in Austin. And then we had one teammate who was distributed working out of Portland, Oregon. But then other than that, we were all working together in Austin. And so this I want to speak to this. I mean, obviously there was a human impact for everyone when we started working from home. It's hard, especially hard for people who are working from home with kids, or maybe they don't have a dedicated workspace, all of these kind of things. And so I feel really...
We're not working from home. We are working from home in the context of a pandemic, right? So it's not the same.
Yeah, it is not the same. The stakes felt really different. And, one of the things that I was really excited about is my team is some of the smartest, most capable and dedicated people, and they jumped into action. We had part of our strategy was that we were, just as you said, going to unbundle design thinking by the end of this year. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could convince this company where people love working face-to-face? We are a relationship company at USAA, and it would be great if we could demonstrate how you don't need to have a workshop event in person, and let's win a few people over. And not to negate the deep human impact that this pandemic has had. One of the really exciting and empowering things about this work from home situation is that it enabled us to accelerate our strategy. Ideas that my team had been just waiting for the right cultural moment to do, they got to do it. And we did it fast. We worked with another design team to launch virtual program increment planning in MURAL. We virtualized our Bring Your Own Epic program, which is a way that cross-functional teams come together and learn how to improve the quality of their epic while integrating human-centered design thinking into it. We published a remote facilitation guide within weeks of this happening with some of these tips and best practices. We have an ongoing wiki page that we update with resources for effective distributed facilitation, collaboration, and leadership. We built more mural templates. And then we launched Toolkits, which is recipes of our design thinking methods to, it's a collection of methods, an agenda, and guidance that's organized around common collaboration challenges or decision-making challenges or problem-solving challenges that people at USAA have. And these are things that they can self-service, or they can bring it to a coaching session with us and get more specific guidance, or can ask us questions, things like that.
Erin,
yeah. And I was just going to say, the other exciting thing was our an executive in the chief financial office. He had come to one of our design thinking events a year or so ago for executives, and he wrote me and he said, "Hey, Erin, we're all working from home now. How's that going for you? We miss our whiteboards. What can I do?" And I was like, "Shh, don't tell anyone, but Enterprise Mural is coming, and maybe I can get you in a little early. I don't know." And he was delighted. And then about several weeks ago, one of my teammates, Naveen Rajadaksha, he then taught them design thinking in MURAL using the tools that they had been tinkering with for a little bit before we got to them. So it's just, if there's a silver lining for us, we're getting to accelerate the meaningful work that we're doing. And it feels really needed right now. And everyone is just in this learning mindset of why not? Let's try it. Something's got to work.
Yeah. So that there's a forcing function and making us get better at this.
Yeah.
There's also something going on that you mentioned. It's you're templatizing a lot.
Yes.
And this is I've been telling you, so the moment that music was digital, it got copied.
Yeah.
We're not digitizing best practices.
Yeah.
So it's going to get copied. And some will work more for others, and then they'll adapt and so forth. But I think that this forcing function that we're seeing now is I'm wishing, we'll see, there's going to be a dramatic increase in productivity because we get better at meetings.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe, again, we'll see next year and so on, right? But I think that there's going to be like a big productivity boost in again, people that are in the business of changing stuff, right? Because man, why 3-day, 8-hour long workshops? Maybe not needed anymore. They're great because I mean we bond with each other and there's trust building and so forth, but not every single week, definitely. But yes, every single week, planning, reflecting, and so on, like things that are important for you to become a learning organization and a customer-centric organization and a speedy, agile organization.
Yeah.
Erin, you're super, I mean, excited and shiny when you talk about the things that you do. And probably one of so you mentioned you have 10 people.
Yes.
How many do you believe in the 39,000 or so are going to be becoming pretty good facilitators, maybe not pro full-time?
Oh man, I've actually never thought about that. I don't know I'm trying to think what I think would be the tipping point. I'm curious, do you have any instincts on this or any data?
Well, I mean, anyone running meetings somewhat clearly should be somewhat competent in facilitation, right? And understand where they're good and where they're bad, and maybe take the roles that someone, the decider and the facilitator and maybe the scribe, or maybe all take turns. At least being aware of facilitating like a big chunk of people.
Yeah. Yes. No, I definitely, I mean, let's say like 1 in 10, I guess, if you think about team size. I don't know what our average team size is. I think I'd look at it from an average team size standpoint and then start to think, one of my colleagues at IBM Jordan Shade, she coined the phrase magic person. And it was the word that she used to describe these people who helped other people work better. They could do the work and then they also helped other people work better. And I loved that terminology of magic person that Jordan used. And so, in that instance, maybe it's 1 in 10, which is.
So let's talk about the competencies of. So let's unbundle magic, right? So what are the competencies that you look for when you're hiring for a full-time professional facilitator or almost full-time?
Yes. So what we're really looking for is people who have that guidance mindset, like a coach mindset. It's not so much, they really, they're active listeners. They are people who can listen, and they're generally pretty good at synthesizing on the fly because they're listening to sometimes conflicting perspectives or opinions. And then they're thinking of ways to help the team recognize this conflict or maybe even resolve it. They can kind of plan for these sort of engagements and anticipate how they might go. What if this is the decision we're trying to make, or if this is the outcome that we want, and we've got this much time, then what could we do to move people from not really knowing why they're there? Like hopefully they don't arrive not knowing why they're there, but they might. So moving people from not ready to know to ready to hold an opinion to ready to act. And that is something you have to stage and plan. And then you've got to be able to establish and keep people's focus on the thing that they said that they were trying to do. Inevitably, when groups get together, you can see one of two things, like diving into the weeds and getting sort of caught up in the technical details or how we're going to implement. And especially if what they're doing right now is just trying to come up with a strategy or a plan, then those details don't yet matter. And so helping them and learning how to recognize the productive conversations that are needed either to create a bond and trust or that they're necessary to the objective at hand. And then kind of being good at and diplomatic at interrupting or having people recognize the counterproductive activities that are happening in a meeting without it feeling like shame or blame, which is a pretty big deal because you want to make sure everyone feels safe to share ideas. You don't want to shut down that divergent creative thinking. You want to create space for that. So a facilitator is sensing and feeling and reading the room, checking it for productivity, checking it for creativity, checking it for, are we going to hit our goal, and figuring out if anything needs to adapt or change. And you build a cooperative spirit in that meeting amongst the people that are there.
So, you mentioned that you look for people that were in design, in product, because they need to come with the thinking of a designer and so forth. Do you think that we'll see more facilitators coming in from alternative disciplines like acting or sports coaching or things like that?
Absolutely. Well, or everyone on my team has something like that in their background. I have a person on my team, Steven, who is an improv comedian. Tim on my team is a former soccer coach. I worked with someone at IBM, Seth, who was an actor for 10 years in Los Angeles before he joined IBM. Before he became a designer and joined IBM. So I was a professor, and I like to think an improv comedian, although I'm not. So that it is something actually we look for on our team. It's not a singular focus on design. It is, those are exactly the kind of skills that we draw upon and we draw out of each other every day. So absolutely, I think so.
Someone, one of the 20,000 people are watching this right now, get that very, seems fun job.
Yeah, it is.
How do they apply? How do they get it?
Well,
you know what? Yeah. Why don't you give them something? What's a good question that you asked?
Okay. Yeah. So one of the questions, first of all, on our team, we do a facilitation challenge. So we actually have people demonstrate their ability to facilitate. And we generally give them a pretty open-ended challenge. Like you've got 1 hour, facilitate design thinking activity for a group of designers. And then we invite people who would be not just from our team, but who might look to this person as a coach. And we invite them to come in and learn a new approach from this person. My dog is scratching himself. Hopefully you can't hear him. And so we do that facilitation challenge because we really want to see people demonstrate their ability. We want to see how they navigate and coach people in real time. So some of that like flexibility and adaptability. And then a question that I always like to ask is, tell me about a time when you saw an opportunity or solution that was not obvious to others or went counter to the prevailing thoughts of the group. What did you do? What was the outcome? Is there anything that you would do differently today compared to how you handled it then? Because what I'm looking for is, that's a really uncomfortable situation. It's highly political. It requires some an evidence-based approach or a rationale. It also asks you to reflect on how you might improve. And with facilitators, you're always going to mess up in real time. There's always going to be some kind of mistake. And the important thing is to learn from that. And it just goes, I say to the team, oh, well, that's just information. And then it goes into your toolkit. It goes into your, oh, okay, if that ever happens again, or it becomes part of a thing that prompts you to make a new tool or a new method because it happens again and again. Oh, that's just something that needs a new approach. And so that tell me about a time and challenging the group think. Yeah.
was the last time, because at time, like
Oh,
generally
good point.
storytelling. The last time is like, oh yeah, I remember that time. I always
Yeah.
ask the sales guys, tell me last time, because I mean it's minimizes the part of our brain that imagines
Yeah.
memory.
I'm going to
Which, by the
change it
way,
right now.
it's a
Yeah.
fact. I mean, we don't remember perfectly, and it's part of our possibility to use memory to create the future. So anyway, it's about minimizing that. We'll always be storytelling
Yeah.
in addition to narrating, because we are human.
Yeah.
Erin, we put the link in the show notes so that everyone can apply.
Great.
And thank you for your energy and enthusiasm on all this. Thank you for being a promoter of facilitation, about design thinking, and about remote design thinking, because we truly believe that that's the best way for everybody to be able to practice this way of, and social technologies allow for everybody to be able to innovate.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us today, and looking forward to talking in a year or so, when you're going to be telling us that now you have like a team of 100, and there's like what we say, like 1 in 10. So 3,000 or almost 4,000 people being great at facilitation in USA. Oops.
Yeah, of course. I know, now that I put that number out there, I better watch how my OKRs are going to change. Thank you, Mariano, for having me. And and thank you for that innovation, that change to my interview question, because it's going to make it better. So
there you go.
It's been a really fun conversation, and seriously, this has been such a joy in my last 7 years of work to discover this role for facilitators. It feels like I found what I was meant to be, and I hope for other people they get to feel the same thing. So
thank you, Erin. So ladies and gentlemen, there are full-time jobs for this. Yes. So enjoy, and goodbye.